dude, I really feel like I am nowhere near the level of like actual production and like, you know what I'm saying, like music making that I'm gonna get to. And I
Yeah.
just like that shit fired me up to think about, because like there's a lot of times I'm still just writing at the crib and getting my bars off over shit and pulling up at my homie's house that I'm sitting at right now and just like cutting OD records in the living room because we love to do this shit. But like I think there's a whole like another world out there of music making and collaboration and shit that, like I said, I can't wait to tap into, and we on the way.
No, I mean, I definitely understand that feeling, like kind of not being afraid to do shit over and over again. It's kind of like our whole meaning behind our whole website and brand is living life fearless, is finding that passion, finding that kind of thing that like drives you and just doing it no matter what. And like, I can definitely hear it. You can definitely hear it. Can definitely see it, you know, in the craft and your music. Like, this isn't just like something you're just doing for fun. Like, this is what you do, you know, like, and I guess, what was that feeling like? Can you remember that moment where you like, from where you started to like where you were at that point where you're like, oh, I'm like kind of nice now. Like this, like,
Yeah,
like
I think
I can
there's
do this. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you did like every time I ask
yeah,
people, people know that feeling when it's like, oh shit, like I'm kind of nice now. Like,
yeah, and there's dude, there's just like that crazy like I feel like I spent a lot of time living in this space in my head where I was like watching people do things and I was like, I could do that.
yeah,
And like so many people live in that space, bullshitting with your homies, like watching something like we could do that. We could write a TV show, or like we could have a podcast or like whatever. And like there was two moments for me, three moments for me throughout my career that I think really like changed a lot for me. My first one was there was a studio in DC called District Sound Lab. Shout out to homie Kalen and Caps. And most of the like super dope DC artists were working in there, like Chaz French, Pusha T, IDK, Phil Auday, all these artists that I had like look up to for a long time. And I did a project in there, and a couple times while I was making the project, someone would like poke their head in the room and be like, "Yo, who is this?" or whatever. And it would be these people that I had looked up to for a long time, and they'd be like, "Yo, this shit's tough. Like, keep going." You know what I'm saying? And that was those moments were really big for me in terms of like I getting some validation from like people that I admire. Hear it from your homies. It's another thing to hear it from like the people you trying to be like. And then, like I said, the first LA show changed everything for me in terms of like I was like, oh, bro, I could do this shit every night over and over. Like, I love being on stage. There's not like a nerve in my body. It was like everyone in like, you know what I'm saying? Everyone was like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. Like, that was lit.
yeah,
And the other one was the freestyle video I've referenced a bunch of times where it was like, I had so long lived in that space in my head of like watching all these dudes like prove that they could rap their ass off on like one of these radio shows, and I'd always be like, I could do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, if I ever had the chance, like I could do it. And it was really like, bro, why don't you just go do it? Like you could literally rap it just to the camera. It don't really matter. And when we set that up, and the first one we did, like had a bit of virality and like had some legs, and like I had some really sick people hit me up about it, and that was just another moment where I was like, not even on some cocky shit, just on some like thank God I am who I thought I was. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank God I'm not fucking trash at this. And like, had convinced myself I was nice, because it was like, all right, bet this shit a little undeniable now to a certain extent.
yeah,
Obviously, I have to go and repeat it over and over and over. But it was like, I be making OD sports analogies just because I grew up like hooping and playing sports. But it's like when you play against someone that like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a rookie playing against like LeBron or something,
yeah.
giving him like money. Like, okay, bet I can play. Like, I'm good. Like, and it was
But
just like I've had a few of those
it's that I
moments
belong.
along
It's
the
that
way.
I belong feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And just like I am who I thought I was, like type of shit. And I've been like very humbled in that feeling as well, because like I think like I've had a lot of like peaks of that type of shit, of like getting these moments of validation from people that I thought were gonna fuck around and like change my life. And then like a month later, like okay, bet that person like posted me on their shit, but like didn't, you know, whatever. Like
Yeah,
we didn't sign a deal with them, we didn't do whatever. They were just like almost like eating off the talent for that brief moment or whatever it was. So there's been many times I've been like humbled in that feeling of like I'm him, but those like constant reminders along the way of just like yeah, like it is like that, and I'm not just like fucking crazy. Those are
yeah.
super important.
I definitely understand that feeling, man. Like, I was a hooper. I grew up playing sports also. Like there's always that moment where you're like, oh shit, I'm fucking nice now. Like can't nobody like deny this shit. And then there's also another feeling I know that you probably have is like where people are like kind of giving you your props and like, yo, this shit's nice, this is dope, this is tough. But then like back in your mind, you're like, oh, but you don't even know. Like wait till you hear or wait till you see
That's
what the
the
fuck.
one,
That's
bro.
the one right there,
That's
right?
the one. Dude, that's the one right there. That shit is because it's like yeah, you have like a good game or something, and someone's
Yeah.
like good game. You're like, I didn't even really play like
Nah.
that, and like God, see that shit is gonna eat me alive. I feel like, and like a lot of people close to me, like they have to constantly remind me that like I be jaded sometimes about like my work and things like that, and that like it is like that, and don't like get it twisted
Yeah.
because like the bar I set for myself in my head is
Super
so
high.
fucking
Yeah.
high. Like every time I've left one of those freestyles that like end up going crazy and everyone's like, what the fuck? Every time I've left and been like sick for like 30 minutes, we have to like smoke a bunch and like everyone has to like keep telling me I killed it. And I'm like, bro, I could have gone harder. And
Way
they're like,
harder.
nah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you went crazy. Like, yeah. And then it'll come out and I'll be like, that's just fire. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a constant battle. And I definitely would rather be that way than like, just like yes man
Complacent.
to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And be, yeah, I had a pretty good game. Like fuck that. I've always like felt like I could be like way nicer than I was. And I think in a lot of aspects, bro, like I never wanted to put in the work as bad as I do with the music shit. Like with the sports shit, it was like that level of like once I was playing in college, it was like, okay, I could be like that, but it's gonna take like some big time work and sacrifices and like my homies that I played college ball with that are in the league now, they were the type that like they weren't drinking as much as everyone else. They were going to bed early, like boot up with their girl, eating healthy and shit. And I'm like acting like a fuck. And I'm like, damn, like I don't know how bad I want this.
Yeah.
But like with the music shit, when you're like when you want to be that as good as like you are in your head, you know what I'm saying? Not just like that, oh, I could be like that, but when you're really like, I want to see if, like how good that could be. That's like a never ending battle, number one. And that's like definitely a space that I'm trying to live in, is like figuring that out of like how to show that to everyone. Because is it ever going to hit the limit of like, I feel like I showed them my nicest work, you know?
Probably not. I mean, look at Drake. You know what I mean? Like people still be looking at him like, oh, he's a sicko. Like he's done everything you could possibly want as an artist, but he's still like trying to kill people whenever he gets the opportunity. You know, like still hopping on people's shit, just murdering. And it's like, bro, like you don't get tired. It's like, nah. Like he feels like he can always do more. You know what I mean? Like it's just. I think that's a sign of like one of those having that like kind of drive. It's like I said, speaking of sports, like it's always when it comes down to athletes and professionals, like for me it's like kind of the difference between like the top guys and like nah, it's like it's what eats them inside to like be that next level, you know what I mean? And it's just a continuous drive to do that.
Yeah, and I think there's like, and I mean, who knows which one I am? I guess it'll time will tell when it's all said and done, but there's like the person who works dumb hard but like wasn't that nice to start with, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that's like fucking Steve Kerr when he was in the league or some shit. Like didn't have that much natural talent, like working OD. And then there's like LeBron where it's like he had everything and like
And
worked
he put the
dumb
shit in, yeah.
And so it's just like, because like there's people I know in music, like rappers I know that like they work probably way harder than me, and I like no disrespect to them, they just like don't got it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a reality too, where it's like you could work really hard at something that isn't for you. And I fucking pray to the stars that, you know, I'm not wasting my time, but I really feel like this shit is for me, and it's like something that I have to do like all the time. Like when I wake up, it's like the first thing on my mind is like to start to like work and create some shit. And it's like it's like a scary space at times, because it's very like you're setting the expectations for yourself in a lot of like those days. But yeah, like I said, it's something I just feel like I have to do, and it's just kind of like second nature at this point. It's just like
Yeah.
we could.